Celeb Savant is a career retrospective type interview focusing on singers, actors, and industry experts. Join Barrett Edelstein now as he dives into the entertainment world.
British Trina Smith is a dynamic force in the global music and entertainment industry. She's a producer, artist manager, and consultant known for shaping careers, building brands, and breaking boundaries. As the co-owner of Electric Pineapple Media Group and founder of Sourcery Collective, Trina champions talent with a fresh, fearless approach that blends industry smarts with a deep passion for diversity, inclusion, and innovation. Across her career, she has worked across everything from sync music and artist development to executive production and label management, always putting creativity and authenticity front and center. Trina's work is rooted in championing neurodivergent, LGBTQ+, and underrepresented voices, making her not just a leader in the business, but a true advocate for change. Whether she is guiding new artists on the world stage or helping global brands find their perfect sound, Trina's impact is impossible to miss and impossible to ignore. Up next on Celeb Savant, we've got Trina Smith. Where in the world are you and how are you doing?
I am in London now, having flown back from International Music Summit in Ibiza. So yeah, I'm kind of getting back to normal life in the sun. But yeah, I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
I'm all good.
Good.
Thank you. So for the listener, Trina and I go way back, collaborating with interviews for other artists, and we decided now's the time to discover her journey. So I'm very excited about this. What is the International Music, what did you call it? International Music Summit.
I believe, I got to check my dates, but it started about 14 years ago. And it's an incredible conference and music festival that kind of opens the season in Ibiza. So it's electronic music,
Okay.
co-founded by Pete Tong, and it's a great way to bring the industry people together. Everyone's so happy because it's the first conference, that you don't have to fly too far for, and everyone's out of the office, and a lot of really cool networking is done, and then you have to recover.
So it's a full week. So are there presentations? Are there workshops?
Actually, it's actually 3 days. The conference, full days, but there's always something that happens the day before, and then because it's the start of the season and Pikes has opened and all the clubs have opened, so for a few days after, there are other things that you can still go to with your IMS wristband. You can get into clubs and see some incredible DJs play.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, Trina, let's rewind. At what age, whether as a child or teenager, did you feel that, okay, I want to be in this creative space, in this world, or the behind the scenes of this world?
I kind of fell into it by mistake. Like, I've always had a bit of a creative background. I always wanted to work in entertainment. And I went in via advertising for a UK channel, ITV. And I did a stint there, left, had children, and then kind of thought, oh, how do I keep myself out of trouble while I'm raising these tiny babies? And I started a virtual PA business in 2015, which was brilliant. And in 2019, I won London Virtual PA of the Year.
Oh, wow.
And then COVID hit in 2020 and everyone became a virtual PA. But luckily enough, a few years previous to that, I had taken on a music producer to help support and realised that things weren't entirely good for him in terms of his management and label and things like that, and he may have not been exploited in the positive sense. And I just said to him, look, I could manage you, and I won't do any of the things that the managers in the industry are known to do. And then that was Andrew Kingslow, who you've met.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
We then became business partners, and we went, okay, so actually in hindsight it was a bit of a stupid thing for us to do, but we went, how do we stop this from happening to other people, emerging artists? So we gave that a go, and then realised that we were actually the ones being exploited at that point, because there is a level of entitlement that is real within the artist background, given that anyone can be an artist these days. Anyone can release music. So And there's a bit of an argument there for, do we need more music or do we need more good music? I think it's the latter. And then I kind of just fell into it really. And Electric Pineapple grew from me and Andrew. Andrew's still producing. And then we just took on various other artists. I've taken on artists myself. I was very lucky to be picked for the MMF Music Managers Forum Accelerator course 2 years ago, which was incredible. Fantastic community there, and I've got brothers and sisters for life that I work with. And then now, most recently, the thing I'm most proud of is being on the AFEM board, which is the Association for Electronic Music.
When you saw how Andrew was being treated and in a negative space, and you say, okay, I'm going to be your manager, did you have any idea of what you were stepping into? And once you started it, what were the aspects that actually surprised you about that actual role?
I had no idea what it would entail. I knew it was a massive learning curve, and it was, because everything was based about, traditionally it's this and traditionally it's that, and the industry standard this. And actually, I'm now the person who fights against all those industry standards because there aren't any. And I have a real beef with managers being asked to look after artists on a traditional management deal when 20% of nothing is nothing. And, that's the kind of deal that was happening when Elvis was releasing music. So, times have changed somewhat. But the biggest shock for me, I think, was the beating my mental health took in this industry. Like the shock, even though, we watch all the films of bands and things like that, and the manager's always depicted badly. And there are some bad managers out there, of course. But the industry as a whole is the ability for people to step on each other rather than lift each other. And I think that was the biggest shock for me. Like, I still think like we're stronger together, but it's, it's a fight to the top, apparently.
It's interesting because I've had some, without mentioning any names, sort of gatekeepers or people here in South Africa where, I came in like, this is what I want to do. And there were protocols, that journalists or people who on radio knew these protocols, but because I'm an independent, hadn't gone that route, I didn't know. So I was like, okay, let's go. But no one told me. And then all of a sudden people getting pissed off with me because I'm stepping on toes, but no one ever told me that there was toes to step for. But all this information and access, anyone could get into. So it was just all ego, or, oh, I'm so important and you have to do this for me, when is not the case. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Now it's like step on as many toes as you can, do it politely, be kind. I think there's a definite difference between being a nice person and a good person, because boundaries are very necessary in this industry, no matter who you are in this industry, whether you're, behind the scenes, the artist. But I think we're all we've been scared to question why things work a certain way when everyone's time deserves to get paid for, whether you're an artist, whether you're a manager, whoever you are. And I think that kind of leads me into something that I feel really passionately about. And maybe you would feel like this as well, because you are, you're part of the industry, is that, we work as managers. We have a code of conduct that we follow in order to look after our artists. And that's down to, checking in on their mental health, making sure that all legal documents are, properly analysed. And I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? But given that there are so many more artists now than there are managers, who's telling the artists that they need to treat their managers or their A&R guy or their label manager, or, where's their code of conduct to actually look after our mental health? Why do these artists still expect their A&R guy to be doing coke with them in the toilets at 2 a.m. when that's not healthy? Why are you expecting your manager to put all the hours in for nothing? Especially if, you're not making any money, but you want a manager, you're not making any money. So, my time is worth something. Every manager's time is worth something. So the thing that I want to champion going forward is protecting the industry people as well as looking after the artists.
Yeah.
But there needs to be a bit more of a line, I think, as well with emerging artists. If you're not developed enough, why should a manager give you time for nothing?
It's an interesting conversation because I think it's up for debate, but all of a sudden they've got sort of an attention or a certain amount of attention on them. And it's like, oh, I'm now this because this is happening. And I think a lot of them actually, and I'm not defending them, but I think a lot of them actually don't know how to handle it. So then they start projecting this energy and this ego and stuff because it's so much for them to deal with it. They don't know how to deal with it. So they think they need to project a label of what's been previously conceived of that label of a star, that now this is what they need to embody.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there needs to be an education.
Yeah,
for sure. There needs to be an understanding. Anyone can make music now. Doesn't mean you're an artist. Anyone can make music. It doesn't mean it's good music. You know what? Last time I did a panel, I think it was 120,000 songs on DSPs uploaded per day. I think it's 130,000 per day now.
Has it gone up? Oh my word.
It's a lot. I think it was 84,000 a year or so ago. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy that anyone can now put that music out there, and art is all relative, right?
Exactly.
But there is a method to success, even in these days. But you have to invest in yourself, and a lot of emerging artists, even the ones that aren't emerging, that are kind of making waves, they still don't want to invest in themselves, but they expect everyone else to invest in them.
Oh, okay, so that's interesting.
It could be financial, or it could be time,
Yeah. Or anything. Energy, self-help, anything.
Yeah.
Anything. Yeah. What is your definition of an artist?
Oh, that's a good question. My definition of an artist is someone who creates what they need to. It's someone who has a need to create. Right? They can't not do it. But they also have the wherewithal to understand that just because what they're creating is good for them doesn't mean it's going to make it. So an artist is someone who's willing to learn and develop, and also is going to do the open mic nights. They're going to put the work in. They're going to, as much as I hate the social media aspects of it, is part of it. They're going to actually try to do all of that stuff. They're going to find people to mentor them. They're going to actually go out of their way and do the work. And when I can see people with that work ethic, I look at them and go, yeah, you're an artist. Unfortunately, the music is secondary now. Music's not about music. But you can develop someone into a good artist. You can. I mean, I'm not going to name any names.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people out there who probably shouldn't be as successful as they are. But then again, success is all relative. I have artists who are happy just being a support slot on a tour, and that to them is success. I have other artists who just, getting a really good strategy together and being told this is what you need to do and following it and feeling like they've done the work and watching their followers grow. That's success. If anyone comes to me and says, I want to be famous, you're not for me. That's not a success story for me. Success is putting the work in and watching it come to fruition.
And I also get a sense that a lot of artists who have had like a couple of viral videos, couple of bits of virality, and now all of that shoved in the spotlight over a short period of time, they don't know how to then maintain that to grow it, because it's been like quick. Okay, now they expect it to always happen because it's happened a couple of times. And then when the virality doesn't happen every time, it's like, then it becomes everyone else's fault and not about them putting in the work.
And actually, in that instance, I'd probably agree with them. And I'll tell you why. There was a day when A&R was about going out and going to gigs and finding the next big thing and having the ears to hear a song and knowing what to tweak on it to make it a hit. A&R now is just someone sat scrolling through TikTok looking for a song that might blow up. And then when the song does, that's great. They sign the song and, they get the views and the streams and everything like that. And then they've moved the label or whomever have moved on to the next potential viral thing. And the artist is left there going, well, I thought this was going to get me somewhere, but it's not actually. So I think there's a real argument for bringing back old school A&R.
So for the listeners who do not know, what is A&R?
Artist and repertoire. It's the person that you would have on your team who will listen to your music. It's back in the day when they actually used to when labels used to develop artists, and they would be your go-to point for any of your new music. They would set you up with sessions with other producers, songwriters, and things like that. It's just a person or a department, whether it's in a label or a publisher or management company, that finds the talent and helps develop it ultimately. They would be the ones that would sign a new artist, or at least find the new artist and take to the powers that be and say, yeah, we should sign this one. And then they just develop them and oversee the music.
And it was not in the past about how many followers they had or how many views on a video. It was about the creativity and the content and the artistry. These days, and I was discussing it with a bunch of people the other day, it's not about the artistry anymore. It's not about the musicality. It's, okay, this is nice, but how many followers do you actually have? And it's just so frustrating.
Vanity metrics and data tracing is the sad reality of the music industry. And, and the thing is, artists do, they hang on to that. They hang on to the streaming, right? How many have I streamed? How many have I streamed? And it's not how I would measure a successful song. Streaming, I don't know if this has changed, but last time I looked at it, I think 1 million streams was about £3,000. 1 million streams. And you've probably spent more than $3,000 in promoting and creating the music of that one track. And that's if you're lucky enough to get 1 million streams. So the whole industry really needs to take a long, hard look at itself.
Viewing it to the different angle. I love me a CD. I still budget for my CDs every month. I love the journey of the choice, the aesthetic, the booklet, the thank yous, listening to song from 1 to whatever number. I'm sure you in the industry are aware vinyl, CDs, cassettes are in a massive comeback. Last year, CDs were put into that basket again in the UK, where they gauge exchanges for tax purposes because of the upsurge. And the research is showing, as we know, that it's the teenagers and the younger people diving into this world, not the older nostalgic people. You've referenced the streaming and the minuscule amounts that artists get paid. What are your, beyond that and your observations of the physicality, what are your thoughts on the landscape at the moment?
I think it's physicals having a huge resurgence. And I think if we don't look at fan-centric products like things like that, it's going to be a huge income stream that people are going to miss out on. I mean, when you think about where artists actually really make some money, and even this is debatable now, but it was always in live. It was always in not even the tickets, but the merch that they sell. Yeah, bring CDs back, bring records back, and there's some incredible companies out there doing some fantastic products within the physical arena. I think if we're going to do that, though, we need to stop selling CD players again, because I think people only have them in their cars now, sadly. But there's definitely an argument for physical, bringing it back hugely in a big way.
I think there is a lot of CD players out there. So, for example, I was living overseas in the UK. I came back to South Africa and I've got my CD collection, as mentioned. And about 1.5 years ago, I was like, okay, I want to get a CD player again. And everyone said to me, there's no possible way you'll be able to find any. In South Africa, there's a platform called Take-A-Lot, which is similar to Amazon, but slightly different. Okay. And I went on there thinking, oh, okay, I'm hoping for a couple of options. And there were over 50 to 100 options for me to choose from. And I had to narrow it down again. So, I mean, South Africa is a small little section in the world, small market. So if I had so many options in South Africa, I'm sure the overseas market is still there for people
maybe I need to go and do some research into that and actually go and have a look. But I think it's, it's more than just listening to the music, isn't it? A record feels like artwork.
Exactly.
So, a special edition CD is like a memento, and, limited run cassettes, again, whether people can play it or not, it feels like an exclusive and personal gift from your artist.
Yes.
Where people are sick of getting tote bags and T-shirts.
Yeah.
As, merchandise. I mean, how wonderful to actually purchase something physical that has the music on it. It takes me back, makes me really nostalgic. And people will pay for it too.
And then you have this other scenario now with a lot of artists when it's become about the singles. Let's release singles with singles and singles. And that whole thing about the album has fallen away. And I've spoken to a lot of artists. No, we're not going to do an album now. Maybe later. It's just about the singles and the EP. But as we mentioned, and if we focus, they're missing out on a huge market there, because if they release this, that's an extra revenue stream of music coming and pounds or dollars in their pockets.
In terms of the physical, for sure.
Exactly.
I mean, I think the reason for the singles and the whole waterfall release strategies and even the EP strategy is because you remember when you used to get a CD. All right, I'm giving away my age here, but I would be very excited for Take That album to come out, and I would listen. I would listen to it track by track by track,
Exactly.
15 times after. Whereas now, if you drop an album on Spotify, you skip through those songs that you're not feeling instantly. At least if you've got a vinyl or a CD, you're probably going to sit and listen through. Playlist culture kind of ruined a lot of that stuff for us. But I think the album, well, people making albums is definitely coming back. A lot of the artists I work with are now looking at doing albums, or they write enough music that they feel is good enough, and they're like, well, I should put this on an album, and I love that.
A few weeks ago, I spoke to a group of 10 people and then another group of 8 people, just to get a feeling. Now, these are people who enjoy music, maybe not really as passionate as we are, because we, in the industry, but maybe they'll stream some songs, they'll maybe go to concert once every couple of years. And I say to them, okay, if an artist has had 100 million streams of a song, how much money do you think they've gotten in their pocket? The first group of people said 50 million. The second group of people said 1 million. I said, actually, no, it's more like 1,000 to like 5,000. And they were shocked. They were so shocked. They couldn't believe how little the artists are receiving for their hard work. So I think from a perspective of the greater audience, I think Snoop Dogg is doing it. Ray has been doing it. A whole bunch of others, making the audience aware that, listen, they need to get more money.
But I work with songwriters and producers as well as working with artists. And again, this is one of those industry standard traditional things where people go and they do writing sessions, and the song may never see a light of day. That's a whole day's writing session. That's a whole day's work that you're not getting paid for. There needs to be something within the industry to combat that. And it should come from the labels and the publishers. It's got to come from, non-independents. Like, I look at my producers, and if their points are taken away for songwriters, it kind of just, all they're doing is pushing the problem between producers and songwriters. Problem is between producers, songwriters, and then mostly in the major labels. Something does need to be done, but remains to be seen.
Holding thumbs there. What do you enjoy about your job?
Oh, that's a tough question. Yeah, you got me in a day that I'm quite zhuzhy, but I love the networking and connecting side of my job more than anything. I love supporting the growth of not just artists, but also other managers. I really feel strongly about protecting other managers, especially emerging managers, especially independent studios, things like that. I really love kind of digging in, strategizing in those areas. That's probably my favourite bit. And obviously the occasional free ticket to a festival's quite nice. But yeah, I really enjoy the kind of grassroots art.
What does it mean to be a manager for artist, producer, and writer?
Oof. So it's very different, I would say, in terms of... So I don't do artist management anymore. I don't do traditional artist management. I will develop an artist, and that will be based on being paid to do that. If you want me to take your music to, my people I've built relationships with for years, I need to bring them something that's pretty bloody good. And if I can hear something in the music and I can see a work ethic, I will, if I can't add value, I'm not taking your money. But if I feel like there is something that we can do together, I will invest my time, they will invest the money, and we will get it to a place where I can take that music to, people that I work with in the industry who I completely respect and would never just show up with rubbish. A songwriter point of view and a producer point of view and also a DJ point of view, it's very different because they're kind of given a brief from somewhere else and they just follow it. It's a much easier, getting the work for them might be a little bit tougher, but they know what they're doing and they do it. And it's minimal back and forth. There's no disruption. They just know what they're doing and they do it. And it's a really enjoyable part of the business. The bit that I hated the most was managing artists, putting hours and hours in for them not to listen. Yeah, it's a shame, especially, and that it's different between managing one artist to managing a band. Yeah, they all have their different complexities, I would say. But yeah, so I don't do the traditional management anymore.
Okay. You've had enough of that.
Oh, yeah. Entitlement culture, I'm out. I'm done.
So development means that an artist comes through to you and then you look at their work, look at what they're doing, and then help develop them and connect them with others. And then do you step away, or do you carry on with that relationship?
It depends. There is no... If someone uses my services to help strategize for them, and this is not just about developing the music, this is developing their brand, this is developing who they are as an artist, what their core beliefs are as an artist. People buy real, so who are you? A media strategy, a social media strategy, a PR strategy, all of these things. And if they want to continue working for me after, and they're earning money and they can afford a manager on a traditional deal, then I would look at it. But there's no clause that says they have to work with me. I want to give them value for money, get them to where they think they need to be, or where I need them to be in order to service their music, and then just kind of take it from there. So yeah, it's nice to sometimes just kind of go, right, my work here is done. Off you go. And, bye.
Yes. Pre to social media, the artist was about creativity, about what they were releasing. Social media came into play, and it now became, this artist is now also a brand. They're creating a brand, an image, a brand portfolio. What are your thoughts of how that transition has happened? Do you think a lot of artists have fell into it comfortably, or still a lot of them are still struggling to conceptualize that their name is also a brand?
I definitely think that there's a lot that struggle. And I can just base this around, and particularly my artists who are neurodivergent. It's already become a throwaway thing anyway, right? The social media stuff. So for example, I have an autistic music producer. To tell him to create music, which is what he wants to do, it's what he's gifted in, it's all he knows, and then he has to document that all the time on social media, but also not pay attention to what anyone else is doing on social media, which is probably the hardest part, because that comparison is so detrimental. What's the saying? It's the thief of all joy. It's not impossible for him to be able to do both. He's creative in one way, he's not creative in the other way. He is there to make music, not to sell himself, if that makes sense. And that's what social media has done. If you're an artist, I get it, it's slightly different. But I also think if you're really anti-social media, there are other ways around it. You just have to, it's part of the strategy. You have to really pull apart where you're comfortable. Maybe if you're not comfortable on Instagram and TikTok, I don't use TikTok. Oh gosh, the thought of it fills me with dread. I don't use X because that man's an idiot. I have Instagram, which I mostly use for my personal page. But as a manager, if I connect with someone in the industry, I do look at their Instagram and see what's going on. But LinkedIn is more of a space for me. But maybe that's a good place for artists to start gravitating towards. Or maybe, really, in an ideal world, we would not base the importance on social media and followers. And
that's exactly. When I do Celeb Savant, it's strictly Celeb Savant. The events I'm covering, all those variety things, nothing personal is posted about. And again, obviously it's frustrated because it's, finding a sponsor for the podcast or whatever. Oh, how many followers do you have? How many downloads do you have? It's like, oh my God, it's not about that. Listen to the words, listen to the content. And I get completely everything that you just said.
Well, I love that you're doing it. You're just pushing through anyway. And it's brilliant because you can tell from your page what your brand is. Yeah, keep doing it.
Thank you.
Keep going on those toes.
Yeah.
I assure you, a sponsor will come to you eventually. You're on fire. Keep going.
Yeah, thank you.
It's really impressive and it's an inspiration.
What's coming up next for you over the next period of time?
Oh, so I have got, it's conference and festival season now. So it's all ramping up. There's Great Escape. There's the BMC, which is the Brighton Music Conference. I'm doing a panel at the Berlin Dance Music event. So yeah, that's kind of That's as far forward as I can look at the moment. That and juggling 2 teenagers as well. It's as much as I can handle.
That's cool. So, Trina, I know if I had to ask you this question in 2 minutes, 20 years, 5 hours, I know your answer will be different every time. I'm not saying favorite, I'm saying top of mind. If you had to push play to 5 artists once you finish this conversation, who would those artists be? And if you can think of any songs from them, what would the songs be?
Well, Take That would have to be in there, purely
Okay.
from the which song would that be? It would be it would actually be a song called Give Good Feeling. And any Take That fans out there, don't judge me on that. Prince would be in there, and that would be the Purple Rain. Foo Fighters would be in there with Everlong, 30 Seconds to Mars, The Kill. But basically this is my playlist now that I just play over and over and over again. And then I'd need some sort of 80s classic like Wham! Club Tropical.
Oh, yes.
That's really being put on the spot.
So, Trina, the podcast is listened to throughout the world. As a final message, or what would you like to say?
Oh my gosh. Keep treading on toes, keep disrupting. Don't give up. I imagine a lot of people are saying that as their final message. But it is be a disruptor.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Celeb Savant. Please follow Barrett on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at Celeb Savant. That's CelebSavant.